Good morning to you out there who is always tuning in to watch us live on Equa Television Africa. And this is a segment from the Dailies coming to you live this beautiful Thursday morning. My name is Joyce Iyakwari, and joining me in the studio, I have Tosin Olabi in the studio with me.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. How is the weather?
Weather is perfect. The cold is out. You know, I prefer cold to heat, so I think it's perfect for me. But at least I keep warm. I take a lot of maybe hot drinks, and that has been, you know, well.
Yeah, that's the way, the remedy.
I think you have a different opinion about
the
that.
Weather
you don't
is
really
very
like it.
cold. It's very cold, so you have to keep yourself warm. If you're in this part of the country that's in just Plateau State, you should make sure you keep yourself warm from this cold weather, because you can easily get the pneumonia and other diseases from this cold weather. So try to keep yourself warm, and also take cold hot tea. Hot
But
tea,
do you like
yes.
it? Do you like the weather?
To some extent, I prefer the cold, but when it's too much, it's something else.
Well, it's the season of the cold, so there are seasons and times that we have the cold, we have the heat. Even though when it's so hot, it doesn't get very hot in Jos, and that's Plateau State. So we're appreciative and thank God for the weather.
This is our small London.
Our small London. So if you've not visited Jos, let me take the opportunity to urge them to come to Jos. You will enjoy it. Well, talking about weather, talking about happenings in Nigeria, we just want to remind you to get your permanent voters card. That is the PVC. You can go get registered and make sure that you have it with you, so that you get ready for the elections. And if you have it, just keep it safe, so that when the elections come, you will be able to go out and vote whosoever you want. We shall be looking at the dailies today. So many stories making headlines, and I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to our Equa TV supporters and our prayer partners. Thank you very much for everything you've been doing, your financial support, and even the prayer. So we should know that you are with us and we are with you. And we are live on Facebook also, and on YouTube. You can drop in your comment based on the stories that we shall be discussing today on the show, so that we will hear your own input and contribution. By 9:30, the phone line will be open, where you can call in to make also your contribution live on the show. So let's move on to the first paper, and the first paper here is the Guardian newspaper. On the Guardian newspaper, we have the headline. The first headline, which says electoral bill, and it says CSOs knock Senate over consensus, in quotes, option as NAS re-amends bill. And it has the writer that said Senate reps bow to Buhari's request on electoral act, consensus option undemocratic, says CISLAC, that's CISLAC, Huriwa legislator a captive of Buhari. National Assembly attempt to over-regulate political parties unnecessary, and this is coming from Olurode. Buhari has no option but to assent to bill, says Women Forum, and this is talking about the electoral bill. And moving on, we have court awards 1 billion naira to Kanu, orders FG to tender apology. This story can be found on page 2 of the Guardian newspaper. Watch out for the RAM column tomorrow, and they are advertising a column for the Guardian newspaper. And we have Eyi Mofe nominated for 2022 NAACP Image Awards in US. And talking about the PVCs, and this news can be found on page 4, and it says PVCs don't expire. INEC tells Tinubu insists double registration an offense. Then moving on, kicks, knocks, trail rise pyramid unveiling. And the last story here says US vows to bolster democracy in Nigeria. And these are all the stories you can find on the Guardian newspaper, and talking about the PVC, and also talking about the rice pyramid that CBN unveiled just recently. And there are so many reactions following that. So many people came out to say the rice pyramid is more like a pyramid of lies, because they are not really rice that are packaged in those bags, more like they are padded. Some are even sand, some are even different things you can find. And if CBN is unveiling it and they are not being truthful about it, so there are so many reactions on that. And if you have interest in that, you can get the Guardian newspaper so that you can read more on it. And talking about the PVC, where Tinubu said, in case you do not know, your PVC has expired. Yes, and you know, your PVC have expired. And there are so many reactions too from the INEC chairman and even people involved, that they came out to debunk that, to say no, no PVC is expired. And I would like to read an information from them, which says this information is not correct. The PVC is issued to all previously registered voters remain valid. This kind of statement will certainly push eligible voters to register more than once, thereby creating the problem of double and multiple registration. And this is the INEC chairman who said that yesterday. Then we have another comment from the chief press secretary to INEC chairman, that's Rotimi Oyekema, who says, in fact, double registration is an offense under our laws. Eligible Nigerians are entitled to register only once. Once a name appears on the National Registry of Voters, it stays there permanently. And one of the very few instances where a name could be removed from the register if there is a strong and verifiable proof that the person bearing the name has died. So there is nothing like your what is called your PVC is invalid or expired. No, when it's given to you, it's permanent. That is why it is called permanent voters card. So they are saying you should not listen to Tinubu, who is saying your PVC has expired and you should get, and they are warning against registering twice, because it is an offense under the law. So please get your PVC. We will always encourage you, but if you have your own, you can keep it safe for the 2023 elections. Let's move to the next.
Still on the issue of PVC, he still came out and apologized on this issue where he said PVC have expired. It's when we talk about people to be educated. Secondary school certificate is not enough to vote for that position, either the presidential or the governorship election. Be exposed, because coming out to say permanent voters card is expired, you can, and it has the name permanent. That is it. You can just imagine. But thank God he has come out to apologize, and going out on Voice of Liberty newspaper. APC releases its national convention timetable. Sale of form begins February 14. And the All Progressive Congress APC Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, led by Governor Maimala Buni, has released schedules for its national convention. After a series of controversies, the ruling party on Tuesday announced that its national convention will hold on February 26, understanding that the party will, during the convention, elect its national officers to the National Executive Committee, which is NEC. APC, in a communique released on Wednesday after a meeting of its national leaders, said the interim report of the National Reconciliation Committee will be received on January 31st. The release, signed by the National Secretary of the party, John Apan Udedehe, said consideration and adoption of reports of state congresses, inauguration of the state executive will be on the 3rd of February 2022, while the report of state congresses will be on the 2nd of February 2022. Sale of forms to aspirants vying for national offices will commence at the Secretariat on February 14. The deadline for submission is February 19. And publication of subcommittee is on the 19th of February 2022. And screening of all aspirants vying for national office will be on the 20th to 22nd of February 2022. It added that screening appeals to hear and resolve complaints arising from the screening exercise is slated for February 23rd. And another story on Voice of Liberty 2023, I will pay WAEC fee for every child as president. Coming from Oluremi Tinubu. Joyce, why will you wait till you get to that position before you pay WAEC fee for children?
I had to laugh.
That's it. Because I don't just understand all those promises that we keep on making, and when we get to that position, we won't even achieve half of it.
How do you intend to pay the WAEC fees for all these children? We are tired of promises that are not realistic. It's not even one of the requirements that is expected of a leader or the president of a country to pay, so you should not even put it in your campaign promises. I don't know if they come up with all these things so that they can entice Nigerians and maybe the masses to know that, okay, even when they don't have money, there is someone that we can't hold on those promises anymore. We've heard of there are instances of so many administrations or politicians that came to do their campaigns and they said a lot of things, and now they are bringing it back to tell them to be accountable about it. So many promises about, let's say for example, there's an administration that said it will feed school children, or there's an age that it will feed for as long as whenever. Then it will what's the other promise? More like give 5,000 naira to Nigerians that don't have jobs. That's they tag the jobless Nigerians. That means 5,000 naira will be given to everyone. Then so many of these promises are unrealistic. Nigerians just want democracy. They want good benefit of democracy. They want the dividends of democracy. Good facilities, infrastructure, health, what is it called? So many of these basic amenities, water, road, our health sector should work, and so many other things. Not paying of school fees, or saying you want to feed a child, or saying every Nigerian can move into your house. No, that is not proper. That is not right. And I feel this is laughable. That's why I had to laugh when you were reading it, because it's funny. When it came out yesterday, I was like, okay, wow, this is not even expected. You should have just brought out something. Bring a good plan. Have an agenda. This is what you want to do. It's not like Nigeria has gotten to a time that is being called a developed country. No, it is still a developing country. As maybe we're at that level of developed country, and maybe you don't have anything to put in your agenda because everything has been taken care of, and you're now saying, okay, you want to pay. That would be, it's be like, okay, there is nothing to do, yes, so you can do it. But now we are struggling with insecurity. You're talking about WAEC. You're talking about paying fees for. Okay, I think I'm getting angry, but just go ahead to sit.
Joyce, if you're a philanthropist, you shouldn't wait till when you get to that position before you do all these things. Because when we look at Tinubu's wealth, we know that he's even richer than some states. So you should do this. It's something he can easily do, even now that he's just there. He's not a president or a governor of Lagos State. But you can do it easily. Yes. Not that you bring it up as part of your campaign promises. The same Tinubu said he's going to fight insecurity in 72 hours. The same Tinubu said he's going to turn Nigeria to Dubai. You can imagine all those promises that are not just realistic. This is not what we want as a country. That's why we keep on talking about PVC, because we should not be carried away with all these lies, because they are just lies. They're just deceits coming up from these people, because this is the time where we will start hearing all these things. They will start coming up. Deceitful words will start coming up, but we should not be carried away, because definitely there are people who are suffering and struggling to pay their WAEC fees. So they will be carried away that, yes, if I vote this man into power, he will definitely pay my WAEC. And that is the time where the reality will dawn on you. You will know that all these things are just promises. We should not get carried away with all these things. We should get used to it, that all those promises come during election process like this. Time for election, we get to hear all those promises. We should not be carried away. We should be wise, because they say once beaten, twice shy. Ours is even more than once beaten. So we should be wise, and
so many
that
times.
is it. We should be.
And to add to that, it's not like we're condemning his political ambition, or we are condemning him being in office. No, I just feel for Tinubu, he should put more energy in being accountable to Nigerians about the bullion van case that is coming up, and people are asking, this bullion van was found in your residence. What is it about? How much is it? Like, he should own up to it, because up to now there is no statement from him or even his aide and what have you. But he's putting more energy in so many campaign promises that I feel are unrealistic. I think what Nigerians want right now is accountability. You were once this, you were once that, and in position where you were in office, these were the things that happened. Come out, be accountable about it, clear your name, then you can go on with a good agenda that you put on the table for Nigerians to see. And at least where you started, you know, you've been transparent by putting everything on the decks. You are being transparent, so that when you start, at least Nigerians will even keep record. That's where most of our politicians fail. When they bring out their agenda, they don't want, they feel okay, they are being transparent, and when they are being held accountable, they feel Nigerians are challenging them. No, you are in office, you are in the public eye. You are not in office for just your family, you are in office for the whole of Nigeria, because you took up the position. No one forced you. Just like you said, nobody should pressurize anyone to go into office, because we are avoiding all this. So when you put it, you are transparent. At least we ourselves, you can even be accountable. We can keep the record for you by being we know that, okay, you're responsible and you're accountable, and we keep everything that is transparent. Even the common man will know that, okay, Nigeria is working and all.
Yes, starting on a clean sheet, holding key positions like this, you need to start on a fresh slate. And still on the Voice of Liberty, EFCC invite AMCOM MD Ahmed Kuru over corruption allegation. Grant full financial waiver for women contesting for position. Amici urges political parties. And the big story on Electoral Act amendment, National Assembly reamends bill. Resigns decision on direct primaries as Senate reps differ on consensus option. The National Assembly has reamended the Electoral Act bill yesterday, approving both direct and indirect primaries for political parties for elective positions. Both chambers made the reamendment in separate plenary session in the Senate. The lawmakers also added the consensus clause for the nomination of candidates by political parties. An IDP commits suicide after allegedly being raped by NGO official. This is really sad. Someone that is looking for safety, someone that is there to be safe from running away from his or her community, his or her state, where they had this issue of insecurity, and where you think you can find safety and find succor, you can see the issue of being raped by NGO officials. Is really sad, and that's why the IDP had to take his or her life because of this incident. You can see that the stigma of rape, we have people who are rape victim, and the stigma keep on lingering in them. This is really very sad, because it has gone to that extent that she had to take her life because of this incident. Maybe it has been happening like on and on. So really, those people in charge of those IDP and the NGOs there, they should really look into their staff, because for something to come up like this is really bad, and it's something that we should not, is unheard of. So something needs to be done in those IDPs, in different IDPs, because all these issues, like issues of rape, is tarnishing our image, because they're supposed to find safety in these places. Something needs to be done about it, and that staff, if caught, he should really face the full wrath of the law, and he should serve as a scapegoat, as a warning to others who are into such acts.
We need to be responsible.
Definitely. And IPOB here, court orders federal government to pay Nnamdi Kanu 1 billion naira as damages. And still on 2023 presidency, Yaya Bello dares APC zoning arrangements, vows to declare bid after APC convention. And that's all the story on Voice of Liberty.
All right, moving on to Business Day. On Business Day, I have just 2 news that I would like to take. And the first one is about oil. And for a few barrels more, it says Naira to face pressure on lower oil output, rising interest rates. And the last one here said Nnamdi Kanu, federal government poor compliance record raises doubt. So you can get this paper and read the story from the front page and even into the page 30 of Business Day paper. So let's move to the next paper,
which is Daily Trust newspaper. Vehicle registration portals face as importers decry delays at ports. An electoral bill fresh controversy as Senate reps approve different versions. Abdusalami Sultan orders to grace Daily Trust dialogue today. And the big story on front of Daily Trust says convention, APC to pick chair from 4 contendants. The rider aspirant lobbies Buhari's men as convention timetable released. Yari, Sheriff, Yuguda edged out, and president has final say. Cries persist in Zamfara, Sokoto, Abia, Benue chapters. Downside, we have Super Eagle and AFCON group phase in style. Beats Guinea-Bissau 2-0. I think that's what is making us happy now in our country because of this AFCON match, and we can see that Super Eagles are leading in the match. Displaced girl raped by aid worker commits suicide. And on full price, we have NEC recommends 302 naira per litre. The last story, Buhari arrives Kaduna, inaugurate project today, with details in page 6. Joyce, with the issue of insecurity in Kaduna State, I think we should look out for ways we can fight that insecurity, because the rate at which people are being killed in Kaduna State, even yesterday we had record of killings in different communities. Looking at inaugurating project, it's good, but we should look out for safety first, because even if those projects are inaugurated, who will use those projects if people are wiped out of that state? We should look into ways we can curb the insecurity in Kaduna State presently, and even in other states that are having issues of insecurity. Project is good, but it should come at the right time, because if it's coming at the wrong time, it's not important for the people. Because if you look at Kaduna people, indigenes now, they need security in their state, not projects to be commissioned. So we should look into ways security can be guaranteed to them first. If security is guaranteed, then they can use those projects that have been commissioned. They can use all those things, and it will be of importance to them. But first of all, security should be the first.
We have someone that says he can end security in 72 hours. This is a very deep statement. That means he has the solution to what we are going through in Nigeria. I feel this fight is not just for one person, or you shouldn't wait till you're in office before you can fight insecurity. I feel he should advise the states that are going through this insecurity problem, or he should have advised the whole Nigerian, the Nigerians, stakeholders, even people in positions to know the strategies, maybe give them the strategies, explain the strategies, have a meeting with them for the planned strategy on how to end insecurity in Nigeria, because it's coming out to say he can end insecurity in 72 hours. Do you know what that means? And we are still suffering, and you are a Nigerian, you are part of this country, you live in this country, that is. you know. And if we're talking about moving on, we're talking about building Nigeria, we're talking about putting our hands together to build Nigeria, then he should come out to tell us how we can tackle insecurity in Nigeria, because he just said something. We need to end insecurity in Kaduna State. It's not about project, it's not about commissioning one thing or the other, and we have someone in Nigeria that has a solution. We are waiting till you are in position before you can end the insecurity. Then it's wrong, you know. He should come out to advise Nigerians on what to do.
And luckily for this person, they have free access, because not just the 72 hours, even the one of 1 year also. And we've been battling with insecurity for like 7 years in our country, even more, because these people, they have access to the villa, they have access to Mr. President. It's something that they can walk up freely to the president and give him some tips on how we can curb this insecurity. Don't give him the whole tip. Keep it when you become president, but give him some tips so that we can curb this insecurity. I keep on saying that if this issue keep on lingering, it will affect you one way or the other. And if this issue is resolved, you will benefit from it, even as a president, because you know that the issue of insecurity is out of it. You can face other things. So we need to fight insecurity. We need to curb this insecurity, because it is hitting hard in our country. That's all for the newspaper.
Okay, I would like to move on to the Guardian newspaper. And on Guardian newspaper, we have so many stories which I would like to take. And the first one says, Kano flows, federal government as court orders 1 billion naira compensation. That story can be found on page 11 of the Guardian newspaper. And moving on, fuel subsidy, Labour alleges plot by governors to disrupt protests, and this is about the fuel subsidy. Then we have price of diesel rises further by 13.5% to 343 naira per liter, and this story can be found on page 20 of the Vanguard newspaper. And on convention, tension as police take over APC secretariat, and the writer says CECPC releases timetable, denies zoning chairmanship to North Central, don't allow looters hijack delegates. Oshibajo group tells Buhari APC. South leaders warn against electing ex-governors as party leaders. Ex-Lagos Council chairman mobilize for Tinubu. Shinkafi Zamfara governors Ali Batus Yari 11 orders for chairmanship. Why I resigned as PGF DG, and this is Lukman. Then we have Ogoni Oil Shell's exit has cost Nigeria 178 billion US dollars, and this is coming from Mosop. This story can be found on page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper. Senate asks military to block escape route of fleeing terrorists, and this story can be found on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. On 2023, US promises support for free, fair elections, and this story can be found on page 13 of the Vanguard newspaper. Buhari writes National Assembly seek firmer grip on corruption, and this story also can be found on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper, and we are talking about corruption. Then we have the electoral bill, NAS back pedals OK's direct indirect primaries. The story can be found on page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. And kidnap resurgence, 2023 polls may be a mirage in Southwest. And Afenifere YCE, page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Reps probe Malami IGP over police invasion of Magodo Estate, page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Mom student hire thugs to attack teachers in Ogun State, and this story also can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. And there is a picture story of the metro trains for Lagos. If you have interest in that, you can pick up this Vanguard newspaper and read more of the story and even the details inside the paper. Tosin.
For the Nation newspaper, EFCC quizzes Amcon MD oversold assets. Kuru defends integrity, and the Kanu trials continues February 16. The rider says 1 billion naira damages for IPOB chief. And Tinubu clarifies position on PVC, says cards don't expire. Lagos acquires 2 speed trains from US for city service. And reworked electoral bill. Senate House differs on consensus option, with details in page 4 of the Nation newspaper. INEC warns parties against conducting primaries outside Ekiti and Osun. The big story: governors tighten grip on APC ahead convention, and the rider says state helpsmen to shortlist 2 aspirants for chairmanship. Zoning battle rages and convention guidelines are out, and amongst the guidelines we have the reconciliation panel. The reconciliation panel report ready January 31st, and sale of form begins February 14th. Screening of aspirants February 20 to 22nd, and screening appeal committee sits on February 23rd. While the last story on the Nation newspaper: reps probe AGF, IG over Magodo, Lagos incident. Eagles take all 9 points, with details in page 31 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all for the Nation newspaper.
All right, I would like us to move on to more papers, but this is a time where we'll have to open the phone line for you to call in and make your contribution. And remember, we are live on Facebook and also on YouTube. There you can type in your comments and we'll read it live on the show. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is from the Dailies live on Equa Television Africa, and we are glad you could tune in. If you are just tuning in, you've missed the first part of the show, but you're also right on time for you to call in to make your contribution and even listen to us as we analyze more papers on the show today. The phone line is open and the number is written right on the screen. You can call us and make your contribution. Remember, when you call, please step away from your television set or turn down the volume completely so that we can hear you and avoid interference. And also, when you call, you have just 30 seconds to make your contribution so that we can move on to the next caller. And we've been reviewing the papers and would like to go into more of the papers today on the show. And with me today is the These Day newspaper, and on These Day newspaper we have the big story which says electoral bill, governors meet, challenge House to concur with Senate. And it has a writer that said, commend Senate for okaying indirect consensus modes of primaries to engage NLC, TUC over proposed increase in fuel price, holds secret parley with EFCC boss over security vote. And moving on to other stories, APC were yet to zone party positions ahead of convention, and it has so many riders, and it says releases convention timetable, beefs of security at secretariat, chieftain condemns alleged zoning of chairmanship to Northwest as Shinkafi joins race. And this is coming from the APC. Buhari urges Senate to expedite actions on anti-corruption bills, page 8 of These Day newspaper. And upstream commission rakes in 175 billion naira from sale of marginal fields, and we have the riders there. And the rider says 31 oil assets fully paid for as litigation stalls 2, target 3.38 trillion naira in revenue in 2022, laments 115,000 PD loss to oil theft, technical deficiencies. And these are more stories that you can find on this day newspaper. And the last story here says INEC disputes Tinubu claim. It says previously issues PVC is not expired, valid for voting. You can get this paper and read the story on page 12 of this day newspaper. And earlier we analyzed it and we explained further why your PVCs are not expired. They are permanent voters card, and if you have them, please get ready for the 2023 elections. Tosin.
On Nigerian Tribune newspaper, court orders federal government to pay Kanu 1 billion naira tender apology over rights violation as IPOB leader pleads not guilty to terrorism charges. APC releases schedule for February convention as Abia women barricade secretariat, protest against imposition. Fuel subsidy removal, I will clarify from relevant government agencies, coming from Lai Mohammed. The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says he does not know the federal government's exact stance on the removal of fuel subsidy. Mohammed disclosed that he will need to consult with relevant ministries, departments and agencies to ascertain the government's position on the removal of petrol subsidy. He made this known on Wednesday in a chat with State House correspondents after a meeting of the Federal Executive Council at the Presidential Villa, Abuja. Mohammed added that he cannot react to the issue of subsidy removal until he gets the right information regarding the matter, asking for more time to initiate a fact-finding mission. As for the removal of fuel subsidy, I think you will give me time to consult with relevant departments and ministries, and I will get back to you, he said. In a related development, the National Economic Council has recommended an increase in the pump price of fuel to the federal government. The price of petrol in Nigeria currently sells for 162 naira and 165 naira per litre. According to the chairman of the council, Vice President Yemi Oshibanjo made the recommendation in November 2021. And I will declare my intention to run after APC convention, coming from Yaya Bello. Wike orders local government chairmen to destroy all illegal refinery sites in Rivers. Affair on Thursday, the need for greater women's participation in politics, and this editorial can be found in the back page of Nigerian Tribune. And for the big story, it says electoral bill, Senate House bows to Buhari, widen scope of primaries, approve direct, indirect consensus option for political parties. Amendment unanimously approved in Senate, and opposition kicks in House. House prioritize safety of democracy, coming from a spokesperson. Petrol pump price not increased to 302 naira per litre, and this is coming from the presidency, with details in page 25 of the Nigerian Tribune. Afenifere laments incessant kidnapping on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Reps probe IGP, AGF involvement in Magodo Estate invasion, and 2 killed, 1 kidnapped during Enugu APC ward meeting. And the last story on Nigerian Tribune, Lagos acquires 2 new speed trains. Sanwo-Olu seals deal in US. And details can be found in page 5. And that's all the news on Nigerian Tribune.
All right, moving on to Daily Sun newspaper. On Daily Sun, we have the big story. National Assembly bows to Buhari on electoral bill. Expunges provision making direct primary compulsory. Passes bill allowing parties to use direct, indirect primaries, consensus options to pick candidates. And moving on, APC releases timetable for February 26 convention. This story can be found on page 27 of Daily Sun newspaper. We have deployed technology to combat kidnapping, banditry, and this is coming from the Inspector General of Police. And it says, Ondo NSCDC inaugurates female special squad, and this can be found on page 4 of Daily Sun newspaper. Moving on the 2023 election, Southeast presidency overdue, and this is coming from Uzo Kalu, and the story can be found on page 6, and it has a rider that says throws light on visit to president. Court remands 2 brothers to Kuje prison over alleged fraud against Arthur Eze, and the story can be found on page 3 of Daily Sun newspaper. Fuel hike, NLC begins mobilization for nationwide protest to commence strike February, and it can be found on page 8 of Daily Sun newspaper with more details. Defection suit, Umahi deputy no faith, March 8, head to appeal court for interpretation of constitutional provisions, page 28 of Daily Sun newspaper. Editors, US envoy, ex-NUG boss, orders harp on free press for democratic growth at Kano Town Hall, page 3 of Daily Sun newspaper. And more story here says it's talking about Nnamdi Kanu, which says Nnamdi Kanu floors federal government, court orders government to pay him 1 billion naira, tender apology for violation of human rights. IPOB leader asks court to quash fresh terrorism charges, pleads not guilty. And this is about Nnamdi Kanu. And you know, if you've been following this story, this is a developing story. Yesterday in court, Nnamdi Kanu denied being a member of the IPOB, and there were so many reactions also, even on social media, where his lawyer was interviewed. He granted an interview to press men, and he said Nnamdi Kanu denied being a member of IPOB. And the reactions, some of them were saying yes, he had to deny being a member, but because he's a leader of the IPOB, you can't be a leader and you tag yourself as a member. So we want a clear description, we want a clear statement to, you know, analyze it or explain it better. If he's denying being a member, does it mean that he's a leader, or he's denying it totally, that he doesn't know anything about the IPOB? Because Nigerians have been following this news, some are supporting him, some are against him, and if there is a clear statement, it will help Nigerians understand where he stands, even if he leaves court, or even when the compensation is being paid to him, and even if federal government apologizes to him at the end of the day. And the last story here says 2023 women demand post of VP, and this is coming from the Women Forum, I guess, and the story can be found on page 27 of Daily Sun. This is interesting because in all the people that have the presidential ambition for 2023 elections, I saw only one woman, and I can't remember her name right now, but I know her age is 38 years old, and just within the week she came out to say she is in a way related to Tinubu. And more women are asking for the post of VP. We want to see that. We want to see the energy. We want to see the women coming out, you know, credible women, responsible, accountable women coming out to say, okay, they want the post for the VP. And we need to see them now. We need to see more of the ambition, you know, women empowerment, women in position, women doing great things.
Definitely, women should not be relegated. Moving to the Punch newspaper, Nigerian passengers face hitches as airline suspends US flight over 5G rollout. Still on fuel subsidy, NEC considers reports today. TUC meets ASCSN, threatens showdown. And details can be found on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. PVCs have not expired. INEC counter Tinubu. And federal government to establish 18 modular refineries in oil-producing states. Cooking gas demand surges over LNLG 100% domestic supply. While I will declare my presidential bid after APC convention, coming from the governor of Kogi State. While the big story says Electoral Act amendment, Senate bows to Buhari, includes consensus for party primaries. The rider Senate adds consensus to House of Reps, direct indirect primaries proposal, and consensus with subvert popular will, antithetical to democratic principles, coming from CSOs. Man who confessed killing mother with stick, dumping body in bush, remanded. And 3 Ogun teachers beaten by hired thugs, parents arrested. Federal government charges not worth defending Kanu, tells court gets February dates. And returning officer told me 2003 governorship result ready before election, coming from Osoba, with details in page 10. And Lagos domestic worker flees with 13.9 million naira cash, jewelries 1 week after resumption. Reps order probe of Malami, IG involvement in Magodo estate dispute. And we have some picture stories on the Punch newspaper. Do well to visit the Punch newspaper to get stories that interest you.
All right, on Daily Independent, we have National Assembly reamends Electoral Act Amendment Bill, and it has a rider that says Senate approves direct indirect consensus for party primaries. House of Representatives adopts direct indirect primaries. This is a big story on Daily Independent today. And on home invasion by military, court orders federal government to pay Nnamdi Kanu 1 billion naira. Alleged terrorism, Kanu rearraign. Trial continues February 16th. 15 counts charge watery, baseless, incurable, defective, says Ozehomi. Confusion as NAS ministers defy or removal of fuel subsidy. And if you have interest in the fuel subsidy, you can get this paper to read more on it. And on security forces killed 1,400 civilians in 14 months in Southeast, and this is coming from the rights group, page 6 of Daily Independent. Gunmen enforcing sit at home kill APC youth leader, another in Enugu. You can get this detail on page 7 of Daily Independent. National Rice Development Council to save Nigeria $2 billion yearly, and this coming from the Senate on page 7. Lagos acquires 2 new Talgo trains, page 29 of Daily Independent. And the story here says Tinubu's associates split over Oshibajo's alleged presidential bid. The writer says, I don't want anyone to create enmity between me, Tinubu, and this coming from Adair. Nigeria maintain clean sheet and group stage and style, and this can be found on page 30 of Daily Independent. These are the stories, these are the headlines, but you can get this paper to read more of the details on the Daily Independent.
And on Al Jazeera Nigeria, the big story still on Electoral Act. National Assembly bows to Buhari, amends controversial sections. Parties to determine process for primaries, and consensus candidates now part of new scheme. Court urges political solution on Kanu's matter, orders 1 billion naira compensation. Abia High Court sitting in Umuahia has advised the federal government to explore a political solution on the matter involving the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu, delivering judgment on a suit filed against their federal government by Kanu and the court, with details in page 13. And Ayade orders recruitment into Cross River Civil Service. Cross River State Governor Professor Ben Ayade has ordered immediate recruitment into the civil service to fill the vacuum that may occur due to workers' retirement. The new head of service, Mr. Timothy Akwaji, disclosed this yesterday during his maiden meeting with permanent secretaries in Calabar, with full details in page 6 of the Al Jazeera Nigeria. And we have an editorial which says, raising qualification bar from presidential aspirants. And there's an editorial that will be published tomorrow, coping with common illnesses during Harmattan. And AFCON Super Eagles dashes African wild dogs hopes. And the news, we have alleged breach of code. Timi Frank urges Buhari to sack NCDMB boss. While on business, Buhari didn't approve petrol subsidy removal coming from the Senate president. Still on business, cash-strapped banks borrowed 9.17 trillion naira from CBN in 7 months. On politics, APC convention, groups warned against electing indicted aspirants, and it can be found in page 26 of Al Jazeera Nigeria. That's all on Al Jazeera Nigeria.
And for the last paper here, which is the Nigerian News Direct, we have stories here, and the first one here says Lagos State government acquires 2 new high-speed trains for Red Line rail project. Dangote refinery to reduce Africa's petroleum importation by 36%. This is coming from Apple. NCDMB Navy to collaborate on vessel compliance security. And on another story, 38-year-old businessman bags life imprisonment for raping, impregnating in-law. Petrol subsidy removal group tells Senate president to be firm. These stories and more can be found on Nigerian News Direct. And on the last story here, which is the big story, it says Senate re-amends electoral bill, approves direct, indirect, or consensus for party primaries, and this is to empower political parties to determine the procedure for conducting primary elections, and this follows the reintroduction of the bill in both the Senate and House of Representatives by Senator Yahya Abdullahi and Abubakar Hassan Fulata respectively on Wednesday, and that was yesterday. So there is that's the big story on the Nigerian News Direct, and this story made other papers. It was so many on other papers. This is to show that if you've been following the story about electoral bill, it started with when the president rejected the assent, and now there is the amendment. So we would like to see further. Yes, there is, just like I said, it empowers political parties to determine the procedure for conducting primary elections, and this was done yesterday, and it was reintroduced in both the Senate and even the House of Representatives by the senators, the 2 senators. So all the stories you can find on the Nigerian News Direct, and even more of the papers that we analyzed today on the show. And we are done with the papers. And Tosi, do you have anything before we leave?
Yes, don't let the fear of losing be greater than the excitement of winning.
Okay, thank you very much, Tosin, for doing this with me today.
Thank you.
And thank you very much, our viewers, for always tuning in to watch Ekwa Television. And this has been from the Dailies live on Ekwa Television. We were also live on Facebook and also on YouTube. And thank you all for watching. I just want to appreciate the Ekwa executive for giving us the opportunity and the platform to bring news, to bring information, even current affairs to our viewers out there, cutting across even Ekwa members viewers. We just want to appreciate you. Why don't you keep watching Equa Television for more exciting programs and refreshing programs coming your way right from 11 till in the evening. Join us on today's live today by 11 o'clock. My name is Joyce Equa. It has been from the Dailies, and on behalf of all of us in Equa Television Africa, see you tomorrow.